Welcome to another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Connor, your host, also known as the Private Money Authority. This is the podcast where we talk about getting private money for your real estate deals without ever having to ask for money. Well, my guest today is a dear friend. We're in masterminds together, and he is an expert at growing money. He's got right now over $8 million in private money deployed in different deals. And so we're going to be able to dive deep and learn about how does he raise all this private money. Well, he's done hundreds of deals in his career. And back a few years ago, he got very aggressive lending money to real estate investors as a private money lender in his local market in Richmond, Virginia, just next door to me here in North Carolina. Well, it's very common for him to earn 30 to 50% returns on large amounts of money. And guess what? If you're looking to deploy some money, my friend and my guest, he can show you how to earn these kinds of returns on your money. He works less than 5 hours a week. And as I said, he's lending as much as over $8 million at a time. In just a moment, you're going to meet my good friend, fellow mastermind member, Rich Lennon, right after this.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Connor.
Rich, my dear friend, fellow mastermind member, welcome to Raising Private Money. I'm so excited to have you here.
Jay, it's an honor to be here, man. I love it, man. You guys, you bring so much energy. I love it. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, for the sake of my audience that hasn't met Rich Lennon yet, you can answer this question as quickly and as short as you like, or as long as you like. And here's the question. Who is Rich Lennon?
Who he is a husband. He is a father. He's an entrepreneur. And his entrepreneur has changed over the years. I was a real estate investor for a long time. I bought 4 or 5 homes a month. I did that for a decade. And 2020, I kind of converted when COVID happened into a private money lender. And now I'm a bit of an educator, kind of teach people what I used to do. But man, I don't know. I'm even though I'm in my 50s, I'm not even sure what I want to do when I grow up. So I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest, Jay.
Actually, you're doing a mighty good job answering that question. Now, you stopped buying homes in 2020.
Yeah.
And that's when you really started converting over to be a private lender yourself. And you also show other people. I think some of your common clients are doctors and professionals and lawyers that want to get, high rates of return on their money, and they want to be sort of passive about doing it. So I know you work with those people as well. So why did you stop buying homes in 2020?
All my gray hair started to add up a little bit. And, I made an imaginary number one time. And I was like, if I ever reach that number, like, that's it, I'm done, I'm cashing out. And I met that number late 2019. And of course, I wasn't probably going to quit, but then the pandemic happened and the world kind of changed. And I had 14 employees at the time, and I had more rentals, and I still have a bunch of rentals than I ever really want to have. And I just was done. I was a little burnt out. It's a lot of work being an entrepreneur, particularly flipping homes and buying all those properties. It's a lot of work. And I was just done. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy the journey. I'm not to say that it wasn't awesome, but it was time for a change.
Well, I would imagine part of this decision as to you becoming a private money lender, the amount of time that you're involved in, like even underwriting a deal and loaning the money out doesn't take much time when you're apart, does it?
It doesn't, it's I've kind of run the numbers on that a little bit, and it's about 3 hours per deal. And that includes about an hour of that 3 hours is saying no, as in underwriting a deal that you don't go forward with. But it's like you underwrite a deal, takes 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you get the payoff on the backside of it. That's another 30 or 45 minutes. There's a little bit of maintenance during the process, but I make almost as much money on a deal as when I was flipping. And man, the amount of time and the quality of life, and I'm just getting a little older, and so yeah, just a lot less time. Yeah.
So, logistically, how did you become a private money lender?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I got involved in Roth IRAs and the Coverdales and the HSAs. I got in that environment early in my career. So I had done some level of lending and investing other than flipping in rentals. I'd kind of done that for 10 years. But when I stopped, I was surprised how much money I had like wrapped up in the machine, if you will, because each deal you've got 20,000 over here and 30 over there. And it's like when it all comes back to you, it ends up being a big number in the bank account. I'm not buying anymore. And so I just started to deploy the money. I was familiar with lending, of course, and I didn't set out with a whole lot of intention of building the next business. I just had the money sitting around, and I'm a competitive guy. Even though I had reached my number, I still wanted to have a bigger number. And I just started lending it out. And then I ran out of money again. And I had to go back to all my other private money lenders, and that I had stopped using their money, and they got mad at me for stop using their money. So I started deploying other people's money again. So I did that as a flipper, and I do that now as a lender.
So you loan your own money out,
Yep.
and you also raise private money. Of
Yep.
course, you used to raise private money for your real estate deals, but
Hmm.
now you're raising private money to broker that money out. So when you are quote unquote vetting out, for lack of a phrase, when you're deciding whether you want to be a private lender for a real estate investor or not, what's your decision model look like? How do you decide whether you're going to lend money out to a real estate investor or not?
I almost strictly based on the real estate, and I got good advice from an attorney. I don't know. They don't always give good advice, by the way, but I got good advice early in my career because I got taken advantage of by a criminal. And that attorney said to me, "Hey, you can do business with a criminal as long as you don't find out in the middle." And I didn't understand what that meant at the time, but what it really translates to, if you have a really solid process and you have really solid paperwork, you can do business with any person, because criminals are very good at hiding the fact that they're a criminal. And so you won't always know who you're dealing with, no matter how much work you do in looking into them. But the real estate is different. If you are an asset based lender and you have underwriting criteria, and I use the same underwriting criteria I did when I was buying for flips, which is 70% of the ARV minus repairs. And then I require skin in the game. And so I've had a really, really good track record by not lending based on the person that's borrowing from me, but rather based on the asset that I'm lending to, with the idea that I might end up owning that asset, and lending with that philosophy and with the idea of I don't know who that person really is. So I have to have very tight processes, very tight guardrails around it to make sure I get my money back.
So, for example, when you are underwriting a deal and you said you can do it in 3 hours or
Mhm.
less, how do you go about in such a short period of time really knowing and learning what a true conservative, for example, say knowing what a true conservative after repaired value is on a single family house?
Well, that used to be very difficult. In my opinion, used to be very difficult when I started my career to figure out how that was. And the MLS really dominated everything. So access to the MLS, I still have access to the MLS. And it's always great to be able to have the MLS and have those actual comps. But I will tell you that like, for example, now we use artificial intelligence to go ahead and figure out those comps. And they go out and they scope the internet. They go to realtor.com and they go to Zillow. They pull in the comps. You can set up the criteria. But we leverage artificial intelligence at this point. We backdated all of our data to figure out like how accurate were our human comps and human analysis of the deal. And I found out that the artificial intelligence, and we just used OpenAI, that they're just as every bit accurate as I was.
Really?
Yeah.
So, do you use Chat GPT,
I do.
Grok?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT for this specific thing. I use ChatGPT. I'm a kind of an AI geek. I enjoy AI a lot. For this specific task, I think OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, is the best. And specifically, I use the 3.0 model for this. It's a reasoning model, and we just have a prompt, and the prompt just is a paragraph long description of what we want, and then we give it the address, and it comes up with what it thinks the ARV of the property was. It'll provide other comps. It'll even rank the comps for you. So like if it gives you 5 comps, because that's what you asked for, it'll say, hey, option 2 is the best direct comp. Yeah, our AI is really impressive in this field. And I actually think that the ARV is the easiest part right now. The construction is a little bit different. It's a little bit more difficult. But that is the part that requires a human to kind of go over, and we do it through pictures and through video.
So, if you're listening to this episode, just to make sure you understand what ARV is, because Rich and I can get into lingo, but what he's talking about is after repaired value of a single family house. And our definition of after repaired value means everything looks and smells brand new. Everything's been renovated. You got new paint, you got new floor covering. It's just in excellent condition, ready for Southern Living magazine pictures. And so, of course, Rich, for AI to give you back that after repaired value, then AI is looking for other sold comparables of other properties near the subject property that has been totally renovated as well, correct?
Yeah, your description is way better than mine. Yes, I just kind of flew right through that, but that is exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, that is really, really amazing. Now, one thing, one thing that you're really good at is growing money quickly, not only your own money, but your private lenders that invest, with your fund or whatever that you lend back out. But you and I were visiting over lunch not too long ago at one of our masterminds,
Hmm.
and you said something along the lines of that you should get 100% returns every year on an IRA until it reaches $100,000. What did that mean, or what does that mean?
Well, so your IRAs are, they are your independent retirement accounts. They're given to us as a gift from Congress, and they allow you to grow tax-free money. But they are limited in the amount of money that you can contribute to them every year. And they depend on your age to how much you can contribute each year. But, I tell people that you can do, now there are some rules, we won't get into the details of the rules. I think that would be inappropriate. There are some rules that you have to abide by and make sure that you understand. But if you follow those rules, you get to grow the money tax-free. And any type of transaction, almost any type of transaction that you can do within an LLC, your normal business entity, you can do within an IRA. You have to follow the rules. You have to make sure you do it correctly. But therefore, if you invest the money, you can quickly make lots of money. And I'm sure in the rooms that you're in, Jay, I'm sure you can remember many times when you've made over $50,000 on a real estate transaction.
Sure.
And so that's just the last one. So I always tell people, if you can only contribute $6,000 to your IRA in year number 1, you should really go from 6,000 to 12,000. And to do that, you just have to find one real estate transaction that makes $6,000, which I think is fairly simple to do. And then year number 2, you can go from 12 You have 12,000. Now you go to $24,000. And so now you have to find a real estate transaction that makes $12,000. And there are a lot of those. And then the next step is, of course, 25 to 50, and then 50 to 100. And so you can do real estate transactions within a tax-free vehicle, and you could do them in the same way you can do with the LLCs. You have to make sure that you follow the rules, but it is not as complicated as I think people put it in their head that it is.
Would you say the biggest advantage or benefit to having a self-directed IRA account are the tax benefits?
Yes, I would. I would say that that is the number one benefit, but I would also say that learning how to use an IRA, particularly because you can't get access to that money until you're 59 and a half without penalty. Or you can get access, but there's some penalties. We're against paying penalties. So it forces you to learn how to be an investor and how do you make money off of money versus when I was a flipping business and I was running a rental business, I was learning to be a business person and I was doing a lot of transactional stuff and it was great. It was profitable. Loved it. But it wasn't really till I started to figure out the IRAs that I started to get into the mentality of how does money make money? And because you're not allowed to eat that money in the IRA until you're 59 and a half, it teaches you how to make money with money. And that was super valuable. It helped me out a lot.
Now, something that I mentioned in the introduction, I really want to dive deep into because when people listen to there's a way that they can earn 30 to 50% returns on large amounts of money, it almost sounds too good to be true. I know it isn't because I know what you do and I know you and you're a trustworthy guy. But I want you to take a couple of minutes here, as much time as you want, to really explain here to the audience how is it that someone can earn 30 to 50% returns?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'll probably do it in 2 minutes. I'll try at least because I certainly get this question a lot. So my borrower is someone who is a flipper or someone who's going to do a burr. So they're going to buy it and they're going to use it as a rental and they're going to refinance it back out. So those are my clients that are borrowing it. I have a second client, which are the people that I call them lazy money, but that's the private money people who just want to earn a rate of return of, let's just call it 10% for this discussion. And so my average loan in the Richmond market is $200,000. And I lend that money at about 20%. So if someone borrows $200,000 from me at a rate of 20% and they give the money back to me in 1 year, then they owe me a total of $40,000 in interest, plus, of course, the original $200,000. So what I do for that $200,000 is I take $100,000 of Rich Lennon's money, and then I take $100,000 of lazy money or private money, and I combine those two and lend it out. And so at the end of 1 year, my lazy money partner, who gave $100,000 to the deal and earned 10%, they get their $100,000 back plus an additional $10,000, which is the interest. And so they get $110,000 back for a return of 10%. My borrower, though, paid $40,000 in interest payments. So there's a remaining $30,000. And so that $30,000 is mine. So I invested $100,000 and then I got $30,000 in interest. Therefore, I got a 30% return.
Beautiful, beautiful. Um, it really is interesting to stop and think about how being in the space of money earning money can actually be a whole lot simpler business model
It is. It's a,
than if I've now flipped over 500 houses
I'm,
in my career, and I'm still doing it.
I know you
Uh,
enjoy doing it. You do.
Well,
It's
the
great.
reason I enjoy doing it is I have an amazing
Yeah.
team that makes this greased machine work, if you will, to where really in the business, all I have to do is make decisions. And thank goodness for software. I mean, I've got the same acquisitionist. Her name is Kim. She's been talking and negotiating with my motivated sellers. All of them are off market, of course. There's no deals in the multiple listing service and hasn't for the past 5 years. But Kim and I never talk. We never talk, but we communicate a lot. It's
Hmm.
all in the software. I mean, she's, lining up the appointments for the team to go look at properties and getting the budget sheets, and she's communicating with the seller. And all I got to do is, in a matter of about 90 seconds, decide how much I want to offer on a property. So it's just a
That's a
decision made.
that's a huge testament to you, and I know how difficult that is to be able to build that team and to truly have your hands off on like that. That is a very impressive skill set. And when we talked in lunch, I was very jealous.
Well,
I was
it's
openly jealous and respectful because it's really impressive what you've done.
yeah, well, I've been very blessed with some very, very amazing people on the team, and they stick around. They
Yeah,
stick
you're being
around.
humble. That has a lot to do with you. You're just being humble.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, so how would you describe your, I call it your avatar. How would you describe your ideal client that wants to invest? You call it lazy money. They
Mhm.
have either investment capital or they have retirement funds, and they're sick and tired of the volatility of the stock market, or maybe they've lost money in the stock market, et cetera. What does your ideal client look like that is investing money with you to get these, high rates of return? In fact, you teach these people how to do exactly what you're doing, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I do. I do. Um, so my lazy money partner, I want to be someone who is hands off and allows me to run the deal. And not all lazy money or private money is the same. Some people want to be highly involved, and some people don't want to be involved. Now, I specifically with my lazy money in that $200,000 loan, we each have $100,000 in. But the way the note is written, I take 100% loss before I before they lose a nickel. So I'll lose my $100,000 before they lose a nickel. It's so that loss is not split. It's taken by me. And so for that equity position that they're in, I really want them to allow me to make most of the decisions. Not all the decisions. They need to be involved in some of the pieces of it for sure. But my ideal partner is someone who just allows me to go do what I do best. And most people that approach me though, because I don't take a lot of lazy money partners anymore. I've just been in the business a long time, and I don't raise a lot of capital. Most of the people want to learn, hey, how do I make 30% return? They're either in the real estate industry, they're flippers or people that are doing rentals. And so they're familiar with it and they're comfortable with it. Or they're like a doctor or a lawyer who is good at their career. They've created a nest egg of money, and they want to learn how to accelerate their retirement. And then they'll go in and maybe they want to earn a higher rate of return so that they can buy some of their time at the end of life. I think those are the kind of how it balances out.
Right. I want everybody to for sure know, in case they have to leave early, if someone's listening to this show and you want to really get some crazy returns like Rich is talking about, 30% and more, Rich, what's the easiest and best way for them to reach out to you?
richlennon.com.
You can't
And
beat that.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And I've got a button on there. It's called the Smarter Wealth Blueprint. And you click on that. You doesn't cost any money. You can fill it out, and it'll give you step by step exactly the way I do it. Tells you everything about the business. Don't hold anything back. And I just happy to spread the word.
Yeah, so that's www.richlennon.com. That's richlennon.com, richlennon.com. Rich, before I let you go, one of my favorite questions that you gave me permission to ask you is, what do you teach your kids about money?
Oh, I we we do a lot. So I grew up without a financial background. Lower middle class would be a fair description of my childhood. So no financial education. So our kids, we have a banking system in the house, and we pay them allowances for the chores that they do, and then we tax them 50%, And then we allow them to keep all the remaining money that they have, and they're allowed to spend it on anything they want. And so that's kind of the gist of it. But by making the money themselves, they learn the value of the money. And then by making financial mistakes at a young age, as we've watched them mature, we've watched those financial mistakes go away, like the impulse buying and the, hey, I'm going to buy something that doesn't really hold a lot of value, like a million Pokemon cards. So we've allowed them to go through those experiences, and instead of spending mom and dad's money, because we're probably going to give it to them anyway, they've learned that it's their money, and it's really made a dramatic difference in their financial education. I'm not sure that we won't have to get them therapy at an older age, because like they lend money now. They lend money in some of the deals and stuff like that. They do it, and the kids are teenage and preteen. So we try to immerse them as much as we can.
I was going to ask you how old they are. To have that kind of financial experience, exposure, and thinking. Most kids grow up, unfortunately. In fact, I just heard the statistic last week, and I can't remember what it is. I think it was over 90%. Don't hold me to it. The percentage of families and households that literally live paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah. It's most of
Staggering,
America. Mhm.
staggering statistic. So yes, your kids are very blessed to have this kind of these kind of parents exposing them this. Rich, final words of advice to people that are listening to the show.
Take action, take massive action. And you, the people who move the money are the real catalysts. And so I think sometimes people have a little bit of discomfort with the idea that they're going to use other people's money. And the people who go out and like do a flip and move the money, those are the people that really bring the value to people like myself. And so don't hesitate. Don't be afraid to go out and tell people what you do. And if you do it with passion and you have integrity, like the money and your group of people, your flock, they will come to you. And you're doing them a favor by moving their money. And I didn't start off with that mindset. It took me a while to get there.
I know what you mean, Rich. Rich, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
here
you,
on
Joy.
Raising Private Money. It's always a blessing to be around you.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. This was
Thank
awesome.
you, Rich. And there you have it, another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. And I need your help. You are one conversation away from making an impact in somebody else's life. So here's what I'd like for you to do. Think of just one person that this episode would make an impact on their life or their real estate investing business, or someone that you know is perhaps the doctor, the lawyer that would be interested in getting a really nice, super crazy 30% return on their money. Share this episode with just one person, and you can be making an impact. Be sure and not miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. If you are listening on any of your podcast platforms, be sure to follow me. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, be sure to like, share, ring that bell so you don't miss out. I look forward to seeing you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/money guide. That's JCONNER.com/money guide. And download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.